everyone, to the CWL Anaheim Open. It is day number 1. It is Fox. It is Lando on hand. Not necessarily in that order, but close enough. We are here from day 1 here from the Bravo coverage. It's set to be a fantastic day. And if we know anything about Anaheim, Fox, it is a legendary place for Call of Duty.
There's so much history here for Call of Duty in Anaheim. Every single event tends to be a major, massive one where history is made. Last time, we were able to, well, one of the previous times we had an event here in Anaheim, we've seen teams such as Impact make such a huge impact, actually, on the history of Call of Duty. That was off the cuff. That was right on the spot.
That was really good.
I'm just flexing a little bit. But we got a great start to the event this weekend, Landon.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've got Luminosity going up against Epsilon for our game number 1. It should be a very interesting match, but like we said, we talked about the history of Anaheim. I mean, there are a number of different fantastic matches that have happened over the year, and I'm fully expecting to see 2017 be another fantastic year as well.
Right. So if you look at your screen right now, we have the pools up. These are the updated pools following the qualification from teams in relegation. The teams that came through relegation are going to be Cloud9, Red Reserve, Bittersweet, and Fnatic, filling out that 4th slot in each pool. Now, as the open bracket runs throughout the entire weekend, we're going to see 4 teams qualify through there into this group phase and play against all 4 of the other teams that already made it.
Absolutely. And we kind of focus our attention toward Pool B, which is, of course, the one that we're going to be in. It's kind of interesting, I'm not going to lie. Pool B, to me, is not really necessarily a group of death, but there's a lot of different opportunities or potentials that we could see come out of this group. We talked about how good Red Reserve looked throughout relegation. Epsilon's presence at times, who's been very, very talented, despite, stage 1 a little bit. But, hey, we kind of pushed that off to the side. You have Team Envious, of course, world champions last year. Definitely a very talented lineup. And Luminosity Gaming, very, very talented lineup, at least as of recently. To be honest, not to get in predictions already, but I think Epsilon, if they can make some noise, this could be an early start to what should be a very interesting pool.
Yeah, just in Pool B right there in the top right corner of your screen, that's the one we're talking about. We're seeing lots of just sort of championship material, whether it's on a domestic level or an international level, going against one another. Red Reserve being, especially after getting that roster change of Rated onto the roster, has had quite a lot of people in the European region backing them. We've seen Epsilon coming off of their victory at CWL Birmingham. Luminosity Gaming at the very top of the pool is going to be 2nd place at Stage 1 playoffs. So, they have a little bit of a history behind them. And as you mentioned, Envious, the world champs, it's really hard to count them out as long as that roster is around one another.
Yeah, and I know there's been a few rumors, of course, kind of going around roster changes, actually, with both Luminosity and Envious, both for different reasons, for different cases as well. And that, you got to question that as the event does go on, those playing the players' minds. Is it a good idea for me to be here? After this event, what are my future plans? And, when it comes down to Anaheim, I mean, your whole focus has got to be on this roster and your chemistry. And I'm not sure necessarily with some of the teams, not just these two, there's been other rosters as well who have recently made roster changes or thinking about making roster changes, that it's really going to, I feel like, affect them when it comes down to Anaheim.
Right, and we have Anaheim. We have Stage 2, the Pro League, and we have Stage 2 playoffs leading into COD Champs. So these guys, this is like their first bit of time together, again, amongst all these other Stage 2 rosters that have just formed, because they got to stick together to COD Champs, They need to improve on those small errors that might be irritating them about one another, but it's grind time. They got to stick together and work it out.
Chemistry, it's a big deal, to say the least. And as we're getting ready to load in here toward map number 1, I believe it will be Breakout hardpoint between these two squads. I'm going to get your thoughts really quick as far as Breakout. Of course, Luminosity, Epsilon, these are the 2 teams that we have in our first series. When it comes down to Breakout, what are some things the fans at home, if they're not used to some Infinite Warfare, even playing some Call of Duty, Breakout, how does it play?
Well, first off, we have to mention just how weak a lot of the European teams, let's not sugarcoat here, a lot of the European teams might be on Breakout hardpoint. Even some of the players on Splice, the best European team has issues on this map. So you might look for Epsilon to have a little bit of a slow start, have a little bit of weaknesses here and there. But overall, you're going to expect to see lots of NV4 gameplay, holding those long ranges of sights and anchor positions on each hill. And we'll make sure we highlight it as we go throughout the map so that you can keep up.
Of course, it should be a very interesting map, number 1, to say the least. I think we're just getting players finalized, making sure those payloads are good to go when it comes down to this next match. But I think it's fair to say, Luminosity, Epsilon, we kind of favor Luminosity when it comes down to the respawns, especially this upcoming hardpoint. We talked about Europe's issues when it comes down to this specific map in past. In your opinion, what do we need to see from Epsilon if they want to take this game number 1?
Somehow they're going to have to keep up with what Octane's going to be able to put out this tournament. I have faith in Octane in every LAN event he attends in Infinite Warfare. In Black Ops 3, he's definitely someone you had to look for towards the beginning and the middle half. But I think that here in this stage, he's in a great position. However, Landon, there's someone that's very important on that side of Epsilon, is Dave. He has shown, even in the Pro League, matching up against Luminosity Gaming, what he's been able to contribute and put up against the likes of Luminosity.
Yeah, Dave is a scary man, to say the least. I mean, he's definitely shown his his contribution to this roster, and I think he'll definitely be a potential bane in the existence of what could be the side of Luminosity Gaming. But it looks like we're ready to hop in here toward map number 1. Like we said, it is Breakout, it is Luminosity, it is Epsilon. Gotta ask you, from Epsilon, do you want to hop on with Dave off the break?
We got to see Dave. I really want to see if he can follow up some of these superstar performances he's been able to put up. Not calling him quite a superstar, but the level that he was playing at, he's definitely been able to take over so many different respawns.
Absolutely. We'll go on board with Dave here off the start. It is time to hop in here toward map number 1. I can't explain how excited I am to do it, but it is finally time. We're going to be looking through the eyes of Dave here off the start. It looks like hardpoint number 1 will load up Central Rooftop, some early nades out, as they're going to be entering into some early engagements.
Right, so you see one player just around the corner. Dave is reading it. He spots him through the window, so now this should be an easy engagement for him to win. Shower control has been given to Epsilon as 3 straight kills are obtained, and Luminosity is going to be spawned way far out. You see those green bodies through the wall, the green arrows through the mini-map. They're all trying to push in unison here, but Epsilon has the map positioning advantage to work with.
Yeah, this is what we talked about with this Epsilon roster, is that if they start to get going, you can't really count these guys out. I mean, there are a few teams in the Call of Duty World League and whatnot who could definitely make some noise that you definitely kind of count them out at times, but I think Epsilon can be one of those rosters, and LG can't count them out because you're obviously seeing what they've done early is that they've got a 26, now 2-1 advantage. LG finally starting to get on the board.
Yeah, and Classic's going to be the one in position. He has a great angle towards Showers there. There's going to be one player 4, Hawk, coming in from that direction, and 3 more just around the corner. He's trying to play his time, but he doesn't have the team support. They're all rotating over to the new hill, which is the right place. So now Epsilon has to push into a Luminosity setup, and they're all doing it through Middle Street. However, they also have Josh in the flank. 2v1 engagement. They're going to win that with ease. Octane is overwhelmed, and Epsilon looks to be in control here soon.
A great place from Epsilon coming through the flank, trying to initiate some sort of a pinch, and it seems to be at least working out for now. Currently, time is being contested. Shots are being exchanged at long ranges, and Dave is cleaning up a few at range and even up close as well. Finds 2. Give me 3, says Dave, as he'll find that on a 5 spree. His streak will shortly end, but still, some nice plays coming out early from the boys on Epsilon.
Dave is hungry. That's exactly how you want to start. There have been so many matches on this map specifically, actually, where I've seen Slack start at that exact same scoreline of 7-2. And actually, I think it was the matchup between Luminosity and Epsilon in the Pro League. But anyway, we're taking a look at the control of this hardpoint through the eyes of Luminosity Gaming. Epsilon is going towards the top left section of that mini-map to try and set up for Junkyard Hill. There's 3 players sitting in pretty much every entrance of it, so it's going to be difficult for Luminosity to push through.
Yeah, they're definitely kind of halting progression as of now, kind of setting up camp as Graveyard will currently be in their control. Octane getting the scrap seconds, and Josh actually finding 2 to break some sort of that early potential push that could have came out of LG. A few players inside of Med Bay, early shots being exchanged, and Dave getting some help there from Vortex as he'll find 2. LG's progress is completely being halted right now, not having a whole lot of angles to engage right now, Fox.
Yeah, this is not an easy hill to break through, so you guys might see LG dying over and over a bit here. It's not because they're playing it very poorly, it's just because Epsilon got an early setup and they're just playing a textbook hardpoint right now. So Classic trying to open things up alongside Octane. We have a pinch coming in, but Saints loses the gunfight. That pressure, if Saints gets that kill, would have been huge for Dave, who you see is just able to sit comfortably, continue his streak, 4 straight kills. They're feeding this man score streaks. He's 25 points away from his next one.
Dave is absolutely lining it up here early as Epsilon finally crossed that 80-second mark as rotation will come in here toward Commissary. We'll see how they can potentially try and push this one forward if you are the side of LG trying to make their way here toward that Beck helipad. We talked about how important those spawns are. It looks like Slack is trying to get tested for those right now. Here comes the LG push. Player just toward that right. Is he going to expect this or not? He's actually in the very far back, and Honky actually finds 2. One more here. Player's 1 shot. Thankfully, Classic will find that, but still, that should have been an easy takeover for LG, and they end up losing 2 players in that.
Landon, take a look at the mini-map. We're seeing 3 different players coming in, all onto Dave, who is 1 kill away from being fully streaked out. If he can at least get an assist, he needs some kind of team support here because he'll get overwhelmed and taken down before he can find that bombardment. That would be huge for his team. Fully streaked out. You see the gold bars in the bottom right corner, and they're still pouring in. Epsilon is not letting up, and they're still shutting them down.
Is absolutely
this is so one-sided
right now. 14-3 on a 7 spree. 121-45. Epsilon have absolutely come out to play, at least for now. LG have got to get something going. They've got to maybe get the communication going in some cases because Dave is a one-man wrecking crew. He's doing things on wall runs, and he's making LG look just plain silly.
Oh, no, Dave. Dave is hurting some feelings and crushing souls today. He did not spot the player on the wall run right behind him. So, player 5, Saints, should have this flank to finally put some cold water on this man. finds his team a little bit of showers and mid-map control, but Vortex is here to disrupt it a little bit.
This is what we talked about. I mean, you look at Dave, you look at Josh as well, 12-9, very respectable score, at least for now. I mean, this is what Epsilon has to do if they want to take out LG. They've got to kind of remain in that slang category, and this is what people have talked about with Epsilon. If Dave can go off, if Josh can have, pretty solid performances as well, this is where they can definitely shock some people, and I think LG, honestly, are kind of shocked right now. I don't think that they expected to be in this particular moment, or at least at this particular scoreline for this game number 1.
All right, but Landon, this is the second half of the rotations on hardpoint. If you're at home and you're new to hardpoint, take a look at the scoreboard. 130 to 78. Epsilon has had a strong performance so far, but they have to do it all again as we go through the same rotation twice, and getting down to a 0-4 start in the kill feed is not the way to do it.
Yeah, 4 down for LG. Epsilon yet again nailing down their rotation. Nice line sights being held. Josh going to be the one to rush forward. Actually getting ready to get met on a wall run. Finds one from the side. 3 go down yet again. Make it 4 go down. Epsilon, time after time after time, have just made LG look plain silly, and it looks like Josh is going to continue to try and be a nuisance through that showers, as he is going to go and back up. Here comes the push from LG. We'll see if they can finally break through.
Yeah, that small play from Josh is a very small example, but I feel like we've been seeing a lot of Epsilon just reading and outplaying Luminosity as they come up to the hill every single time. And look, they hold down, they hold strong onto their hardpoint once again. We're not seeing Slacked and Saints do what they usually do, where they just break these hills with intense multi-kills. We're not seeing that just yet, and I feel like the moment we do, that's when Luminosity can start to bring it back. But it's looking grim. Epsilon is looking strong.
Yeah, for sure. This could definitely be a hill where, of course, once the rotations come in, LG finally has one to themselves. This could definitely be one where they find one through, but Vortex is actually here. He made it through the enemy lines as he'll find 2, completely breaking the LG setup, calling that player out in med bay, and decides to kind of rush things forward. They're Slacked, nearly dies. His teammate will be there for the trade, but a nice play there from Vortex completely breaks apart what could have been LG's comeback.
So we got some players meeting up on middle map here. 40 seconds left on this hard point, so I'm surprised to see them really having that much of a focus on it. But there's the player 5 flank. That's Saints going behind to meet player 2. That's Dave at P3. That's going to be a big gunfight if he can win it, because he just awarded his team. No, he did not award his team the spawn. FTL jump. Double kill coming in from Vortex. This is a great match. Luminosity is just, they can't do anything right now. They're trying to set up so much, and they can't accomplish it, Landon.
Like, just little plays that we're seeing, especially from Vortex, they're kind of just hiding, not really, and kind of realizing the callouts from his teammates, just kind of hiding behind that back cave, making plays happen, not being too aggressive when he doesn't need to be. And Epsilon are definitely making a case as why they are a team that deserves to be here. The streaks come in from Davis. He'll find 3. Hockey cleans up the 4th. And it looks like rotations are about to come in. Less than 20 seconds needed for Epsilon to close out this map number 1.
Epsilon has Luminosity flustered. I'm sitting here trying to piece together the plays that they're trying to make to upset the Epsilon setup, but I make myself sound silly with what they're trying to do here. As you can see, Epsilon is just seconds away from closing out the game. 2-1-0 score limit reach, Landon.
A 100-point club as well. Not at all what we expected to see. We talked about, I mean, everything kind of favors Luminosity in some cases. You're the heavier or the more talented team when it comes in and respawns the issues that European teams have had in Breakout and past. How well LG has looked as of recently. I mean, the odds were definitely stacked up against them, and Epsilon just says, doesn't matter. We don't care. Dave's like, I don't care. I'm just going to go on a streak and just do what I do, man.
Yeah, Dave he was untouchable.
Oh, yeah.
That entire hard point. It was ridiculous. There was one instance where he was finally shut down where the player on wall run in the showers, he didn't see him. But really up until that point, it was just phenomenal gameplay from him with a great supporting cast and the rest of the Epsilon roster to get a lot of that hill time and put him in a position of success throughout the entire map with their setup. So, you know, credit to Dave, but also credit to the rest of Epsilon.
Oh, for sure. And we talk about, the rest of Epsilon as well. We talk about Josh having a very consistent performance as well, kind of with the MV4 throughout mid-map. And also Vortex's, kind of cheeky little plays where he was hiding in certain angles. He realized he didn't have to be too hyper-aggressive. And it was almost like LG was coming out a little bit kind of out of shape, like not really as strong as they're used to. And it's almost like Epsilon has been playing for like the last few days. Like they already have callouts going. Like they just seem like everything's on at full cylinders, I guess, for them.
Yeah, it was really weird to see Luminosity so slow and just so it didn't seem like they were awake in that hard point. Now that could of course be because it is the first game of the weekend,
course,
so you got to kind of give that caveat a little bit of context there. But still, Epsilon coming out that hot is very telling for them for the rest of this series.
Right. So, of course, as we kind of dive into map number 2, this has kind of been an issue for LG in the past. Now, I say the past. As of recently, they've looked very good in Search and Destroy. And it's kind of a question now where, as commentators, we kind of look at it, or even as analysts as well, and we kind of look at it and we say, okay, was it a slow map for LG? Okay, it was. Search and
the
Destroy.
one that just passed, right?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, moving into map number 2 for Search and Destroy. This has been a game mode where they've struggled in the past, where communication
Right.
has been an issue. Could that be the same case in the hardpoint? Like I said, roster moves. There's a lot of stuff I feel like that could potentially be going into LG's gameplay, or was it just a farce? Was it just a slow game one for them? That's the question to be asking.
Yeah, I want to say it was just a slow game one for them. I feel like it's one of those outliers in terms of outcomes when it comes to how Luminosity performs. Typically, they are much, much better than that. They've been a strong respawn team throughout the entire year, boasting 60, 70% win rates in hardpoint and putting up impressive stat lines from player to player. So that was just an outlier of what we can expect from them throughout this weekend. Now, Epsilon, I think it's fair to say that they will have performances like that every couple of games.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's the question as well to be asking as far as Epsilon. Can they keep up the consistency? Can we keep seeing Dave perform at, high moments like that? We were seeing him go on constant streaks. We saw Josh obviously having great performances as well. When it comes down to Search and Destroy, it's a different beast, of course, when it comes down to it. Chemistry, communication, a big factor quite a bit. And, Josh has been a very experienced player when it comes into Call of Duty, especially for Europe. And he also provides that main, kind of captain role in some cases for this Epsilon lineup. So I think he's definitely going to be a major factor when it comes down to Search and Destroy for the communication aspect as well as his consistent gameplay.
Oh, no doubt. And then getting into the Search and Destroy, I think we remember how strong the original Splice roster was in Black Ops 3. I think a big part of that was because they had players rated on the team who was one of, I think he had, aside from John, he was like in the top KD throughout COD Champs, and his team overall had great S&D records throughout that tournament. But still, Josh, being a part of that action, calling a lot of it alongside Rated, I got the chance to sit down and interview him. He was telling me about his experiences with Josh and said that he's great at contributing in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I believe we're going to take a quick look here at Pool B to kind of get a little bit of an idea as to what to expect so far throughout the rest of the tournament, as you guys can currently see here. Of course, all teams level as of right now. This is our first matchup here from the Bravo station. We currently have Luminosity going up against the side of Epsilon. Epsilon took map number 1 in pretty dominant fashion, won that one at 252 around the 80-point mark. So we'll obviously see how that does move forward. But as far as the rest of this pool lines up, I know we talked about it a little bit, Fox. When it comes down to Pool B, what are your thoughts as far as the rest of the matches that we're going to see go on throughout the rest of the tournament?
I think it's going to be exciting to see the new Red Reserve roster facing off against other European talents. So I'm looking forward to Red Reserve versus Epsilon. I want to see if Envious can bounce back from their poor performances the past few events, because they've been very underwhelming for what is a championship caliber roster. We definitely want to see one of the North American juggernauts come and contribute what we expect them to in an international event. Luminosity Gaming, the team that we're watching right now against Epsilon, I do expect to see them bounce back a little bit in this series, Landon, but I think we're going to go to a quick break, let these players get settled and ready for the rest of the series. But what do you think about the series so far, though?
I mean, it's definitely interesting. Like I said, there's a lot of questions. It's only one map, right? It's only one map for LG. How do they kind of rebound as far as that's considered? I think they'll definitely bring it back. It's just, they can't get off to a slow start because this group is not one to mess around in for sure. But guys, just having a little bit of an issue. We'll get that one figured out. But we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we return, more action live from CWL Anaheim. Welcome back, everyone, to the CWL Anaheim Open. It is Lando, it is Fox. We are currently in map number 2 between Luminosity and Epsilon. Luminosity, what we would expect to see them come out in map number 1 wasn't really the case. Epsilon comes out and 100-point clubs them on a breakout. Hardpoint, search and destroy. It's a much different game mode, of course, and it's obviously a much different time, I guess you could say, for the LG squad, at least as has previous times been. It's going to be Retaliation, search and destroy. What are some of your thoughts coming into that particular map?
I think that these two teams are pretty, like, their matchup is very similar. They could match up very well against one another. I think they can go toe-to-toe in really every game mode, even though I think that Luminosity is the better team overall and they match up better against international competition. I still feel that it just so happens that these two are very similar. So while Luminosity has that weakness to search and destroy, I feel like with some of the changes they've made to the way that they roam around the map as a unit, that could definitely be enough to overwhelm Epsilon if the players are on. But if they show up anything like they did in that first hard point, it's going to be a very one-sided affair.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when it comes down to Retaliation, it's pretty sight-heavy, to say the least. I think besides the bridge, not really going to see a very high-pressure area when it comes down to that. But I think you're going to see constant rotations kind of being made to the same area over and over again. It's going to be kind of a little bit of a mind battle going on between some of the callers for each side. Of course, Josh being one from Epsilon that we already discussed. When it comes down to LG's gameplay, they've obviously made kind of talks about the issues that they've previously had in Search and Destroy, how, like I said, moving together as a unit, kind of being as a four-man group has definitely helped them out a lot. I think in early Search and Destroy rounds, we got to make sure that they're staying together as a squad, because if not, if they get down again to this Epsilon lineup, Epsilon's just going to clean them up. Yeah,
that's definitely where it starts to fall apart, is when we see the LG players break off in any way. It seems like it's weird, though, too, because they're all so talented individually, but when there are quite literally individuals on the map, that's when they're at their weakest in Search and Destroy. It doesn't make any sense. But that's also, on the other side of the coin, why their sort of death ball situation works out so well for them. If you're in any range at all of these four players at once, you're like that. There's just a death zone that extends so much farther than so many other teams if they did the same thing. They're very dangerous as a pack.
It's a very interesting point to bring up. Like in 1v1, they should beat you, but it seems that as a team, it works together. It just works to be together. So, of course, as we load in here toward round number 1, it will be the side of LG on the offensive off the break. Typical B hit is what we're going to see, but it looks like Epsilon playing pretty passively off the start.
Right, so classic checking corners right there with the flechette grenade, seeing that no one is home at the B site. There is going to be one player near them on plat, though. 3, actually, all starting to swarm in. They're going to overwhelm Slack here, who's by himself, trying to catch him from different angles. Slack dancing around as carefully as possible, but they still get the first blood onto Luminosity, who now has the plant, and Epsilon is on the offense.
We'll see what they can potentially do. Dave, Hockey left in a 2 versus 2, now making a 1 versus 2. Octane on the opposite side, left in a position to clutch, and Hockey is already on that bomb. Does Octane realize such? Trying to sky above, spots one. That's going to be Dave, player on the bomb. Does he realize it? Can he shut him down? But no, it's not going to be in time. Hockey narrowly able to get the defuse. Octane maybe a bullet or 2 away from finishing that round off, but it wasn't fast enough.
Saints should not have lost that gunfight coming out of the bike shop right there. This is actually it right here. He had the E-Rad, and he should have been fully prepared for a gunfight like this. He brings his gun up faster than the K-bar, and Dave, who's on a pretty hot moment, he's really hot right now in this series, shuts him down.
Yeah, kind of unfortunate mistake there from the side of LG. We'll see how they can rebound when it comes down to their defensive sides. It's going to be Dave, the man who's done a fantastic job in slang, making his way with that bomb here over toward the A site. Definitely not something that we're going to see very often. And you see it's obviously going to catch the LG side off guard. Dave getting that quick plant down, and definitely a good decision to do so. The active camo definitely plays huge in earning score to that already.
And so look, on the mini map, we actually have one player. No, I thought we were going to see Slack try and play that middle map cut just by himself to get a pick and then run away, but he's actually just going to go ahead and regroup with his team as they try and get to this bomb site. 2 players from the side of Epsilon setting up for a pinch, but they still lose the gunfight to Saints, who's traded out. And now that gives them a little bit of information as they try and plan this take.
One player coming around, that's going to be classic. This is going to be a huge pinch for his squad if he can at least get something down. But no, he's going to get found out. Hockey finds 2 big kills. Now it's going to be left all up to Slack. Before I can even switch to him, he drops as well. What seemed to be like a potential retake from the side of LG turns into another round from the side of Epsilon. Josh, in your round-ending kill cam, picking off Slack. And it looks like the consistent gunplay from both Josh and Dave seems to be continuing for right now.
Yeah, very dangerous duo right now in this series is Josh and Dave. It seems as though Luminosity won't have an answer to it until Octane and another player can wake up and really come online and challenge them here, but So far, nothing has been happening with that. 4 players all setting up towards bridge on both sides. We're going to see lots of long to mid-range engagements here, but Classic closes that gap, and with an NV4 at that, finds himself a double kill.
Nice plays coming in from Classic off the start. Of course, also going to try to get that bomb down. 2 versus 4 retake for the side of Epsilon. This could be big for them. It looks like some nades coming out, but no kill necessarily from the side of Dave. And now Hockey left in a position to clutch a 1 versus 4. Now turned to a 1 versus 3. Needs to reload, and he's going to get overwhelmed. Well, it seemed like a pretty easable read from the side of Epsilon off of a odd take from the side of LG, making their way over toward A. Epsilon was ready, but that early 2-piece from Classic definitely kind of pushed that defensive hold down.
Oh, that 2-piece from Classic made it a guaranteed win. There was no way the Luminosity roster at their current form was going to lose a round where they opened up like that, especially with the positioning they had on bridge. There's no way that we would see Epsilon answer back. So just a great round from Luminosity to put themselves on the board.
I gotta say, I'm a pretty big fan of the plays that we're seeing from both these squads, not at all fearing to go toward that opposite site, letting the other team know that, hey, we can go to any site at any time. So that's definitely going to be something in the back of the defensive squad's minds as far as how the rest of the map does load out.
Classic.
Dave, yet again, the man with the bomb in hand making his way over toward Cat.
Classic is on a hard flank here with Octane. They're both going far behind enemy lines, and no one from Epsilon is looking for it. There we go. We have one player who's looking for it. That's going to be Vortex. Took him a few seconds. If this Luminosity flank was any faster, they would have been caught and shut down.
Another 2 versus 4 on offense. Epsilon is not looking good in these last few rounds.
Still worked
we'll see
out
what they
well.
can potentially try and do here. Player found inside a middle lobby. That's going to be on Saints. 2 versus 3. Dave and Hockey looking to try and play this one fairly passively. Another pick would be massive. But LG, we talked about their consistent play in the past. What's worked for them has been staying together as a squad. That's exactly what they need to do right now. Gunfight's getting ready to happen. Classic staying behind that white van. Player actually just runs right past each other. Hockey's inside of that graveyard area, and it looks like now Dave left in a 1 versus 2, experiencing some shots from the side. Only a few seconds left, but this could be a round where he can try and clutch this one out. Player from the flank. This should be an easy pickup from Slack. Calls that one out to his teammates, and Octane should be there for the pick. But no, he falls, and Dave won't be there for the piece in the end. But regardless, a near 4 versus 2 will end up going in LG's favor regardless. So nice, consistent plays from them as they'll win back-to-back rounds.
Yeah, the whole thing that set this up for Luminosity was the excellent flank that they went on. It looked like it was going to be a one-person, very hard, like late flank, but then they ended up waiting for his team to come together. And ended up being a 2-man push, and it ended up just being them 2 versus Vortex, right? He was the only one looking for it. And then they actually got some kills on the front line that made it a bit easier for them, and that really overwhelmed Epsilon, getting attack from both sides like that.
Yeah, that little pinch in the beginning definitely kind of being a little bit of an issue for the side of Epsilon. We'll see how they can potentially try and rebound heading into this round at number 5. As far as the payload situation, slacked early on with his. Of course, it is FTL jump. Pretty quickly earned. And he is only 150 points off of that score streak as well. A couple players already being made their way here toward that flat side. Finds one, tries to find the second as well. Teammate assist will be there. Now it's going to be left up to a 1 versus 2. Hockey, this time in a position to clutch.
That right there, that opening play that they made with Slack into the window, that's a play that Luminosity plays every single time he gets FTL jump. He hits that wall run straight into, it's usually into bedroom, but he went into plat this time because he saw 2 there. But he usually hits into bedroom to try and get a flank on people plat if they're not already outside. So that just shows that every single time they do it, it's just been working.
It's almost like in the last few rounds, and I want you to kind of add on this as well. In the last few rounds, it seems like the head-on-head, gun engagements that Epsilon are trying to make just aren't working for them. When they try to head on straight in the face of, or whenever Epsilon tries to head right in the face of LG, LG's ready. Like that's like something that they're used to doing quite a bit, and I feel like that's definitely been the reason why they've won these last 3 rounds.
Yeah, we'll see how it unfolds for the next couple. LG finally finds himself in a lead for the first time this series, and now we're seeing Epsilon on the offensive front. Bomb is going down. 2 Luminosity players just around the corner. They have to have a feeling that it's going down. And as it does, they try to reposition, but in a 2 versus 4 situation, Epsilon has the ability to get a little bit more aggressive here, which is why you see player 5 and player 6, Josh and Vortex, on your mini-map, moving up slowly but surely.
Same spot to player to his right, receiving some shots from behind it. He won't be able to stay alive for much longer. Octane, the hot man so far in this match, 9-2. He's going to at least find 1 more kill. Tries to make it another. It looks like he might try to back up, maybe even try to jump off the map in this particular situation. But no, he's just going to try and stay alive, just due to those streaks. Of course, in normal position, but no, he's actually going to try to kill himself to make sure that Hockey and Dave both don't earn any more toward those payloads.
Right, so right there you saw Epsilon using the resources of players as well as they could. It was a 4 versus 2 situation. Instead of turtling on the site, they sent out 2 players to find those 2 gun engagements so that the last 2 players could know exactly where they're going to be coming from. So that was just, playing that man advantage as well as they could to close out the round.
Indeed, we will line in here to round number 7. Early gun engagements going down here inside of middle lobby. Vortex finding slacked early on, and Classic diving back around, of course, with that bomb in hand. They are down, and when it comes into offensive rounds, you definitely want to have as many men as possible, and they've already got a man disadvantage. We'll see how they decide to play this one. Do they wrap toward A, or they try and wrap back toward that presence on B? Classic finding a few, trying to find actually a little bit of knowledge as well toward the enemy team. Regardless, it will be a current 2 versus 3. Octane finding one toward that middle lobby side. So
Classic's pathing right there to stay alive has been great, but I'm still kind of confused as to why he's been so alone with the bomb for so long since this round started, right? He nearly avoided death from the grenade by hitting that wall run, and he stayed alive for some time there, but just until Octane came over, they weren't able to close out the round.
Nice shots coming in here from Hockey in the final kill cam of the round. Of course, it was a 1 versus 2. Never an easy situation to try and clutch if you are in Octane's position, but definitely some high-quality gameplay going at both of these teams. Definitely trying to challenge, and some interesting pushes toward that A side to try and make flanks happen has definitely been a little bit of an issue for both of these teams. Classic having a good performance in that last round, but we'll see how they can perform into future ones. It will be now the side of Epsilon who's going to be on the offense and making a typical B hit. It looks like LG is ready for this.
3 players just around the corner. The ERAD challenge. Saints wins it this time, taking down Dave, the same player he met last time. But there is one more around the corner, and that's Josh. So keep an eye on his action here, as Hawk is actually overlooking him in case he's flanked or pinched from any direction. Josh has to get the bomb, and he just grabs it. Can't escape, though. Saints punishes him again. And now Epsilon is in such a troubling situation because that is the worst spot to be on the map, and you have to go there to get that bomb.
1 versus 4 for Hockey, kind of waving a white flag right now. Might even try to jump off the map. That's exactly what he's going to try and do. Firing some shots from the side, but it's not going to matter. A round 1 there for the side of LG, as we're now going to be tied up at 4-4. Nice consistent shots coming in from the side of LG. We do talk about that awkward bomb placement there from the side of Epsilon. Josh tries to get in and get out, but just kind of an awkward positioning to get that bomb down, and he really couldn't make it too much of it after that.
I was surprised that the first person, the frontline player, was going to be the one with the bomb, because then you find yourselves in situations like that where if they die, oh God, what do? We're in the worst part of the map right now with the most important thing in our hands. So it's a really tough situation to be in, and you see right there at the end, the player committing suicide so that he doesn't feed any score streak or payload points to the enemy team. And as we get into our final few rounds of this search and destroy, that's going to be so important.
He did. We talk about the payloads. Dave with the active camo, Octane with that Centurion. Side of Epsilon looks to try and play for picks, essentially. Looks like the Scarab going to be out. Just trying to gain some information is Dave. Of course, the side of LG realizing such Classic. Spawning one inside a top bedroom. Classic just making sure that this one is clear to get down. Because if so, he's going to get closer toward his active camo as well, which would be absolutely huge when it comes down to these last few rounds. Bomb down. How does the side of Epsilon look to try and push this one out? Dave rocks the active camo along with the Scarab.
They have no idea he's here.
And toward bike shot. He's going to at least spot one. Give me one. Tries to give me 2, but no. Classic's able to stay alive for the time. Nice instant reaction there from him. Going to be a 4 versus 2 for now, and Hockey can't even stay alive. LG looking good. They waste the active camo in some instances because the round doesn't go their way. LG now going to be on map point when it comes down to this game number 2.
Right, and that right there was actually almost a very scary situation. We saw the camo play come through. He was able to sneak past the Scarab, so he then knows there has to be someone just around the corner in the Scarab, as well as the player that just planted the bomb. He nearly got the double kill, but Classic able to respond, trade for his teammates, and the rest of players who were the players on Luminosity were so self-sufficient, close out the round.
And LG are looking in a prime spot to maybe make this round number 10 the last one of this game number 2. Shots being exchanged. Vortex going to tag up Octane, decides to wrap back around. Maybe trying to provide some presence to linger the side of LG toward that A side. And just as that happens, Dave on the opposite side is going to get that bomb down here quick.
4 plants for Dave. He's trying to stay alive here and play a little bit of site defense and get into a nice position behind this tree. This is something that many players have been using for some time now, to play on the defense if they know they can't sit out in the open with teammate cover in front of them. And we see Octane, as long as he's alive, it's going to be trouble for Epsilon. The man is 11-4 and has been putting out so much damage. Finds him in the back, still catches him with the K-bar. One more just next to him, though, is going to be the trade, and we are going to a round 11, Landon.
I'm curious, did you see payloads get used from LG in that round? Did we see a lot of payloads
We
used?
weren't looking through it, and I wasn't looking at the
because I'm curious because they had active camo, they have overdrive.
Right.
Or no, sorry, that was Epsilon who had overdrive. They have Centurion from Octane. I don't believe Octane used that. So really quick, as we load in here toward this round, no, they do not use any of their payloads. So while it is an unfortunate round to lose in that case, they're still looking pretty good when it comes down to the payload situations. But
Hawk just uses overdrive, so we can see exactly what he's going to be doing. Pushing up aggressively here. Hawkey coming straight through the bike shop. One more just around the corner. Erad gunfight goes to Saints, who actually has the K-bar, the double kill. That's huge. Ever since his first loss, he has not been losing any of his other follow-up gunfights in that part of the map. He is shutting it down for Luminosity. 3
out of the 4 players have their payloads. One gets shut down. That's okay. That's the one that they didn't have. Octane also drops as well. Classic rocks the active camo. Should shut down Josh. He's gone. Vortex now left in a position to clutch. 1 versus 1, actually. So despite the amount of payloads used, Vortex actually has his FTL jump in this situation. If you are LG, you cannot give away a round like this. Player coming around the corner. Is Vortex ready for the gun engagement? Can he win it? But yes! Vortex is able to clutch that one out. The 1 versus 1 round 11 will go Epsilon's way. Despite how good it looked for LG, 3 out of the 4 of them had their payloads, but they still couldn't close it out. And Vortex is there to clutch it in the end. Epsilon are now up 2-0 versus the side of LG.
Landon, that cannot happen if you are new to competitive Call of Duty.
Sorry, I need a break.
That's not something you can see. It's all right.
Oh my God.
It's okay. That's
What
not
is
something
happening?
you can't do that in Search and Destroy, right? I think it's something that a lot of the analysts mention at the moment is that the longer the Search and Destroy goes on, the less likely it is for Luminosity Gaming to win it. And you see instances right there where they had so many advantages working for them. Not only did they have payload advantage, they shut down the single enemy payload and got a double kill and still couldn't close out the round.
Like 3 out of the 4 of them had their payloads
What are you doing?
ready to go, and they didn't use them. Like I would think you maybe use active cannon to try to push those players out or whatever, but regardless, Epsilon, they're able to close out map number 2, and they're now up 2-0 in this series. Question being when we return is, can LG bring it back? Guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break live here from CWL Anaheim. We'll be back for the Bravo station in just a bit. Welcome everyone back to the CWL Anaheim Open. We are live from day number 1 in our first series going on between the side of LG and Epsilon. And to many people's surprises, Epsilon currently sitting up 2-0 versus this LG side. And Fox, we just witnessed a very disappointing closing end to that last search and destroy.
Yeah.
Set the stage for what exactly happened.
It's
man.
very disappointing if you're at all a Luminosity fan or a fan of any of the players in that team, or if you like the game mode of search and destroy. Because the way that was played out, these are professional players that are very well known for minimizing their mistakes, understanding advantages, and closing out maps, right? In this round 11, we see a 4 versus 2 situation set up beautifully by Saints with a double kill, a payload advantage that they had earned throughout the entirety of this map due to Octane and Saints having so much to contribute. And while Slacked is planting, Epsilon gets their first kill, and somehow they choke the 4 versus 2. Yeah. And Epsilon wins the series. Or not the series, excuse me, the map.
Yeah, well, I mean, at this point, it looks like they definitely do that.
They're
like,
set to win the series.
We were like, okay, there's no way the LG would lose this. Like, they're in a fantastic spot. At least in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, 1-1, fresh start for LG. Already think about the uplink. Now, I think LG was probably thinking the exact same thing. We have a 4v2. We all got payloads. We're good, man. And then all of a sudden, 10 seconds later, it's like,
they forget, oh, wait, we have to do it. We have to.
We have to close it out. I totally forgot about that.
We still have to play.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but now we kind of focus our attention toward Uplink. That's actually going to be on Throwback. So definitely a little bit of a low-scoring game at times. So definitely the communication, the gun skill definitely going to be at a high peak. And if we know anything about Dave, we know anything about Josh, at least from the Epsilon side, those guys have been lining it up so far.
Oh, for sure. And we see a lot of people complimenting the European side in terms of their ERAD play. And especially with the current meta in respawn game modes, in Uplink more specifically, we're seeing ERADs be a huge part of exactly what you need to be able to have to succeed, right? You'll have at least 2 ERADs. I think I was talking to Krim yesterday. He was mentioning, yeah, you're going to see it a lot. Like, a lot of us are going to be running ERADs. It's something that you absolutely need to be playing with and have someone confident on. So I fully expect to see them pull it out on a map like Throwback with so many close quarters engagements.
And for the side of LG, we talk about ERADs. What players do we look at as far as the SMGs, ERAD more plays? Who are the players from the side of LG that bring those out, you think?
Bring out the ERAD?
For the side of LG.
Right. We can expect to see a little bit from Vortex. Oh, excuse me. You said LG. I heard Epsilon for some reason. On the side of Luminosity Gaming, expect to see it in the hands of Slacked and such. But actually on your screen here, guys, we have the box score for the Search and Destroy. And you can kind of see Luminosity started to come to life. And actually, those rounds are exactly when Saint started winning his initial gunfights and really doing a lot for the team. Octane going 12-6 for the loss. That has to hurt. Dave right here going 9-9, but he also had 4 plants. So that's why that stat line is so impressive.
Exactly. Definitely did a lot for his squad. But it's now time to load in here toward some Throwback for some Uplink, some Call of Duty basketball for you. We'll see potentially if LG can start to rebound. I love the basketball references. Or can the side of Epsilon close it out in a 3-0 fashion. We'll see how things do line up. 3 go down quick for the side of Epsilon, and Classic is already on the way. Can he toss in this early 1-point play? That one's going to be through.
There it is, Classic. Finding that first point. Luminosity gets those 3 kills in the beginning and wastes no time. They don't hesitate. They get a point on the board. So now, since they lost the engagements in Epsilon's base after scoring, you're going to see Octane take the drone and wrap it towards his teammates. So they're going to try and form an offensive front here towards blue side. Octane lining up the 1-point play. Nobody from Epsilon home for an interception, so that should be another 1-point play. Epsilon is still fighting from their base spawn, Landon.
Yeah, it seems like they haven't really been able to get out of their respawn timer for most of the map so far. Of course, it's only been a minute, but it is still a 1-possession advantage, and Josh is trying to change that one, tosses that one inside of silos where it will rain for a little bit longer. As Hockey, in some cases, kind of a play where it's not going to work out for him too much, but he's still doing some damage. So while he's back here, LG have got to make sure they clean him out of barn quick, and that's exactly what they'll do. A few drop for Epsilon, and now the possession is back inside of LG's hands.
So, out of all these engagements, we're seeing Classic start off this map 6-2, currently on a 3 streak. Moments like these are huge because of how quickly he can accumulate that payload. And if he can find himself with camo early on in the game and use it multiple times throughout this uplink, that's going to be huge for his team. But not only that, him staying alive allows his team to play the objective a bit safer.
All right, Classic, 6 streak for him, 9-2 start for the game. We'll definitely see him be one of the lead blockers when it comes down to this push that's getting ready to come from the side of LG. Currently looking toward those bottom stairs right now, just trying to peek, trying to find that potential first gun engagement. Vortex actually escapes with the drone. Classic is still finding kills left and right. on a 7 spree right now. I feel like it's only right that we stick on board with him because he has done a fantastic job at making those 2 points go on board for LG in a great way. He'll finally die, but still a fantastic start for him.
Unfortunately for him, he dies 50 points off of that score streak. I believe it was the Trinity Rocket. 3 players from Epsilon seeing this advantage, try and take it up middle map into the face of 3 Luminosity players. They find the 1-point play and the 3 kills.
Now, the thing is, though, is that while LG, they do a fantastic job at the beginning of this map, their lead is already cut in half. Why? Because it was only a 1 possession. It was only 2 points. So we see a fantastic start, and of course, Classic earning a lot toward that active camo. But still, you already see Epsilon. If they score another point, and even if they get a dunk, they now have the lead after what seemed to be a fantastic start from the side of Luminosity.
Yeah, those 2 points are great, but I feel like the lead towards payload progression is really what's going to help them win throughout the rest of this uplink here. Of course, unless, of course, Epsilon can answer back, which they've been doing very well so far in this series. I think we can agree. So Vortex moving the drone up towards Barn here is going to be met with several Luminosity players, but it only takes 1, and his name is Classic. He takes down 2 with the ERAD.
Speaking of 2, Josh trying to find a few of his own, nearly able to at least combine a few of those kills to make something happen, but it will be LG with the drone in hand. Slack going to toss that one over toward that bike streak. Quickly gets met with the nice shots coming in from Hockey. So back-and-back possessions going. We'll see if Epsilon can try and fire away another point, potentially rushing through Grandma's, but no, they're going to fake that Grandma's push. This could be a 1-point play coming in from Hockey. Tries to go forward, but no, Slack is there for the stop. He'll throw the drone out of the map, so a nice defensive play coming in from the side of LG.
So a little over a minute left in this uplink so far here. I mentioned that I expect to see Slack have the ERAD in his hands. Of course, like I said, we should expect to see 2 or 3 players having it on uplink. Luminosity is actually having Saints and Classic running it. And while I feel that Classic is a phenomenal ERAD player, I also think he's great with K-Bar. I think that he has excellent weapon variety in both Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare. Yeah. I feel like Slack is someone that could benefit greatly from having that ERAD. And if you look at his score, 4-11, I think something might need to change for him.
Yeah, something definitely does. And speaking of things that need to change, can the score go through? But no, Octane is going to be there. I'm not sure if that score would have gone in regardless, but still, nice defensive holds, nice shots coming in from the side of LG in back-to-back cases. So with that, potential defensive plays leading into offensive ones, less than a minute left in this first half of Uplink. 3 go down for the side of LG, and Slack still tossing that drone around, making some noise right now through middle map. I talked about at the beginning of this map as well how Throwback can be a little bit of a low-scoring game, so those active camo, those overdrive players can definitely play a huge factor when it comes down to this next 5 minutes.
Slack trying to hold down middle map there. Finds himself a couple kills before being taken down, and no one else from Luminosity was able to answer from it. So we do see Epsilon finding those 3 kills, moving the drone through food. Hockey knows he's going to be met just around the corner by Luminosity players from Barn. So he's going to throw the objective, try and waste some time. We see the interception come in, and the drone is reset as it respawns back to middle map.
3 different cases where the side of Epsilon could have gotten a 1-point toss off, but the nice plays coming in from LG have stopped those 3 cases from happening, as it is going to expire after the first 5 minutes. It's only going to be a 2-1 advantage, and after how solidly LG looked in the beginning, we look at the ending 5 minutes, and it's like, well, they only got a 1-point advantage. It's still basically a level game.
Very level game, although a very one-sided start to it, as we saw Classic kind of taking over. Slack coming online a little bit more later on in the round. But as the teams switch sides, switch spawns, and switch goals, let's see how the game concludes here. Classic, as we said, built up a very early progression onto that active camo, as you can see in the bottom right corner. Just a few kills separate him. The EMP right there is going to be difficult to answer to, as you see the flank coming through. 3 kills in favor of Epsilon. We've been seeing that so much throughout this uplink.
We have indeed, and we'll see if they can potentially make something off of it. Dave decides to wrap back around, grab the drone, trying to push here through that side bowling. Nice aware team shots coming in. Dave finds 2 thanks to the nice assistance coming in from his teammate. Vortex now has the drone in hand. Can he make a play with it happen? Bounce it off the police station, but can't get much done after that. Hockey is there for the response, and this could be a score coming in from Dave, and it will be early 40 seconds into this second half, and Epsilon have already taken the lead with a nice dunk play coming in.
It feels like the slaying is just not there from Luminosity. It seems like if Classic dies, so do their chances of winning that team fight. And a lot of these kills are happening in unison from the side of Epsilon, to where Luminosity just doesn't have time to answer back and trade efficiently.
Now, I know we talked about, in some cases, there have been rumors with the side of LG regarding roster changes. Of course, we can't really ignore those as well. You think it's kind of playing, in some cases, to their chemistry as a roster together? I mean, if you know that your teammates basically wanted to trade you in some cases, that's obviously got to affect your chemistry in some cases, as far as chemistry, as far as communication as well. Do you think that's maybe being a factor right now?
It definitely differs from person to person. For some people, that could be motivating them more to sort of increase their value as a player and perform better. Some people perform much better under pressure. But yes, there is also that possibility that in game you're like, oh, I'm going to get dropped for that death, like just different things like that. But we still have a very even uplink, and Luminosity is trying to fight their way back into this series. Kills go in favor of Luminosity. We see a payload activated, but it's shut down almost instantly as Epsilon is still on some solid base defense. Dave here posting up online, but the 1-point play goes in just in his face.
Yeah, nice tosses coming in from LG. They've got 2 of them so far in this second side. It looks like the nice plays coming in from Octane helped set up that scoring opportunity to happen. Granted, he wastes the overdrive in some cases, but at least the toss will get off in the end. So high risk, high reward. But speaking of payloads, the side of Epsilon has plenty of them. They've got FTL jump, they've got overdrive, and Dave with the active camo. Those overdrive and active camo players definitely can play huge when it comes down to a low scoring map like Throwback has been. 2, 3 go down. Can they make it 4 go down? Slack still resenting on that bike streak side. Still trying to stay up as he will quickly drop right after that. Although Octane with the drone in his possession right now, they have no issue just kind of wasting time for right now.
So Luminosity tries to wrap this drone towards blue side again. They will be met by 3 different Epsilon players coming in from train. The one in front is actually going to die just about instantly, getting gunned down by Octane as he slides into NV4 bullets. Not something you want to do. And now they're spawning up again. Luminosity is fighting yet another wave and really not making too much progress with the drone. If they were that, they would have had to win like 3 different waves of engagements here if they were going to score. But the camo play is going to be the difference maker, and that's where that lead from earlier on really pays off, because now he has the opportunity to stay alive in the enemy base. He can't do it, but the extra kill is going to buy his team some time to get set up mid-map. Absolutely
great plays coming in from LG. It looks like continuing kills coming in from Octane. This is when he starts to light up. He did a fantastic job in that search and destroy. It looks like he's continuing on his spree as far as slang is considered. Kills being mocked up here through middle map. Nice shots coming in from Saints. And Octane left to hold. We'll see what Epsilon could potentially try and produce. Overdrive earned for Hockey. If they can just get a few players down from LG, this could be a potential push that they can try and make. And I think maybe try to establish some control. This could not be good for Luminosity Gaming. Nice shots coming in from the back, and Hockey's able to make it pay for it. Dave has active camo, but no, he ends up dropping. In some cases, rocks that one a little bit too early, and Epsilon quickly do drop. One payload gets wasted, and now LG looking great with just over a minute remaining.
Dave actually ran that drone straight into the faces of the Luminosity players. They had an easy line of sight to take him down. Sure, he had the camo to disrupt their aim a little bit, but when you have 3 different players focusing on you, you're going to get shredded pretty quickly. So that's not working out very well for them there. It seems to be a burn of the camo with a minute left and Luminosity in the lead. That's pretty dangerous.
Slack smacking Dave right across the face and tossing the drone on his dead corpse, unfortunately, but 45 seconds do remain, and Slack's going to toss that drone off the map, let it reset toward middle, where potentially Hockey could be waiting. Nice shots coming in through middle, but no, he's not able to win that. 2-2 trade coming in from both sides as Vortex trying to make a push happen, but not a whole lot of time remaining. Dave now with the drone in his possession, he can't make anything happen either, and the overdrive player is nowhere to be found. This is looking good if you're a Luminosity Gaming fan, because it seems that they are going to take this game at number 3. If Octane can try to get another scoring opportunity off, that could be the nail in the coffin potentially. Vortex is still here, and as time starts to tick down, it's less and less likely the scoring opportunity will come in there from Classic, and LG stay alive as they're going to win this map number 3, 7-3.
Yeah, they put some numbers in this series score here for the side of Luminosity Gaming. They were staring in the face of a 0-2 deficit, 1 map away from their first loss in groups. But the players of Luminosity come alive. We see Classic contribute quite a bit towards the early stages and the late stages of this map, and it results in a victory. Great, great team effort from their side, despite the excellent performance that we saw out of Hockey and Dave on the side of Epsilon.
Yeah, it seems like we've definitely been seeing a pretty consistent slang performance from both of these squads, as far as Octane definitely kind of brought it up after that first hardpoint, excuse me. Of course, we're revisiting hardpoint in this next map, but still, consistent plays from Dave, consistent plays from Hockey, of course, from the LG side as well. We definitely got some guys who have made some noise as far as the series is considered. I'm curious to see how that plays off in our next map, which is going to be on Scorch.
Yeah, Scorch, hardpoint. Again, a lot of close quarters engagements. This is where a lot of nade spots can come in handy, because there are so many different walls to bounce flechette grenades off of. There are so many different ways you can push hills when you have the ERAD in your hands. So it's going to be a very sort of high tempo, high pressure kind of game. But there are also those money hills, right? The way that we've seen this this map transform is that the turbine and warehouse, of course, have been very important. Right. But there's now a different way way to hold the drill setup, right? You can hold on the side of security rather than medic, and you could actually mount up a lot of different time by forcing them to spawn out towards warehouse or forcing them to spawn out towards the turbine. So if you're an LG fan at home, they can't make any more mistakes here, baby. 2 maps left in the series, and if you're an Epsilon fan over there in Europe, or if you're in North America here too, you want to see them close out the series right now.
Absolutely. You do not want to see a throwback search and destroy for map number 5, of course. But, as well, LG, not the strongest team when it comes down to search and destroys. They've had some issues as well when it comes down to Game 5s in the past, but they've said they're a new team. They said they've worked on their search and destroy, so we'll see if we do see that map 5, of course. But Scorch, like I said, it plays different. It's a very high-intense, very fast-paced game mode. We talked about the hills, of course, like Hangar and Turbine, which are going to be your money hills for this map. Yeah, I'm kind of nervous for the side of LG. I'm not going to lie. Like, as much as I expect them to win, it's just like Epsilon has always been there for a response. It's like they're not slowing down, at least as of yet.
Yeah, and I think Epsilon has made it very clear that at least against Luminosity Gaming, they can go toe-to-toe. They can hold their own in a respawn. So while this might be LG's greatest strength, this hardpoint, I do think it's possible for Epsilon to take 2 hardpoints in one series against this team specifically.
And what would that mean? I mean, for this Epsilon lineup, I mean, a team that's not the most talented when it comes down to respawns, to take 2 versus an LG squad who has looked absolutely, lights out as far as hardpoints, as far as respawns are considered, that would do a lot for their confidence, I feel like, at the beginning of this tournament.
I also think that it helps them form their identity around Dave. It's been very clear that Dave is their answer in a lot of these respawn game modes once they go against teams that are considered tougher than them, right? And we're seeing it right here in this series. So I'm going to be paying a lot of attention as to what he can contribute. But you also can't underestimate the contributions of a player like Hawkey.
Yeah.
Even back when he was on Splice and many of the different European teams that he was on in Black Ops 3, you could see a lot of the slaying and killing potential that a player like him had in a game.
And I think whenever Josh ends up joining this lineup, of course, in favor of Desire and Past and whatnot, I mean, whenever it kind of came down to this roster, it was that these guys were hungry. That was what Josh had brought. Like, these guys are hungry. They're kind of like not newer players, but guys who have been kind of developed in the scene over time. Of course, a team who finished very well at COD XP last year.
Yeah.
And this lineup being Fab E, of course. And I remember a few moments as well, speaking of players being hungry, was that I believe it was Hawkey, after they ended up losing, I can't remember who exactly it was to, but after they ended up losing at Call of Duty XP, he immediately sat there and played at the station he lost at for like the next 2 hours while Grand Finals was going on and everything. And you can just see like the determination from some of these European teams. It's right there. And of course we see Splice, who obviously ended up taking their last tournament as well. I mean, Europe is here to stay, man. And I think guys like Dave, guys like Hawkey, I mean, they're proving themselves to be some of the top players, not just in Europe, but in the entire game, and it's because of their hunger over the last few years.
Yeah, and I think it's a really big moment for the European region right now because they have the Call of Duty World League, allowing them to have such a higher quality of practice that they don't want to waste that opportunity. They want to finally take that chance to go toe-to-toe with the stronger region that is North America. So, guys, we're taking a look at the box score here for Throwback Uplink. As you can see, Luminosity finally takes that series 7-3. This is their first map, or another map, excuse me, not the series. Finally takes a map in the series at 7-3, and you can see some of the greater KDs that stand out towards the bottom here, Landon.
And I'm glad that we actually see the Classic on a scoreboard because I feel like he is such an important player that kind of goes unnoticed quite a bit. You see scoring 5 of his team's 7 points along with a 1.08 KD as well. I mean, he's a guy that kind of goes under the radar, but he definitely deserves to be a case as one of the most talented players on this LG lineup.
Oh, for sure. I said it earlier. I think that he's a very just self-sufficient player. He's very, very intelligent and just an incredibly cerebral player. He's someone that when you watch him, you can kind of see the gears turning and tell what the play call is for the rest of his team. I really enjoy watching this game through the eyes of Classic, and I'm looking forward to see what his idea is and how Luminosity is going to answer to the punishment that Dave is probably about to put on them.
And now I'm cycling through the players right now, and I see an RPR Evo coming out of Classic. Now, this is something that we see occasionally from a few players. You see it on maps like Frost and even a little bit on Scorch as well, but we'll see how that one ends up playing out. I think we end up seeing Fastball actually rock this yesterday in relegation. We'll see how it fares off for Classic off the start. Early gunfights going down toward that wall run side as he'll clean up one, and he'll let his teammate pick up the second one as well. Nice early job coming in from LG as they've gained the first few seconds.
LG finding the first few seconds. You see the RPR Evo coming in on the wall run. Most of these gun engagements are going down middle map, and they're going in favor of LG pretty handily. Dave checking that corner, though. He's not going to be fooled and end up being spawned out even further. Winning that gun engagement was definitely big because now they're going to have the man advantage pushing into mid lane, but Saints tries to even it up, finding 2 kills. Vortex answers right back instantly, but LG hits him with the pinch and takes over.
Now, if you're LG in this current position, you don't have spawns, what do you want to do to try to force your way over toward Turbine? Because we talked about how important that hill is when it comes down to this map.
Repeat that one more time for me, please.
As far as LG As far as their current map positioning, how do you want them to kind of try to force their way forward? Because they don't really have possession right now. They don't really have control. How do they get control of Turbine right now?
Well, they had middle map. You saw they were trying to funnel in through that warehouse to try and get, towards the hill here. They failed to do so because there were so many different players that came in through elbow from Epsilon to stop them. But that was the right play call. They just ended up getting outnumbered because, like you said, they did not have the best positioning to sort of mount up on that point.
All right, we talk about Turbine definitely being a money hill when it comes down to this map, and instead of Epsilon, definitely kind of piggybacking off of that. But here comes the push coming in from LG, all starting to group up as a lineup too. Fall quick, and now Saints and Slack are left to try and make a push happen. Slack still trying to push forward, waiting for his teammate Saints to be there, but Saints is at a little bit of a delay. Finds one, tries to find the second as well. He'll find that one. Big gunfights one for Saints as his teammates will spawn up next to him. LG has now gained control and now have a little bit more of a lead.
Yes, so after that engagement, that team wipe that you saw, we see the players of Epsilon spawning on the other side of the map, but they actually benefit from this in a way because they are set up for the warehouse hardpoint. We see that a lot of the players from Luminosity understand this, and they're sending 3 across the map to go and hit this while 1 player is holding that scrap time. So this is going to be a lot of different engagements from the cave area. 1 player, Josh, sitting patiently. His patience wears off as he finds 1 kill. He's trying to upset the spawns of Luminosity, and it looks like he succeeded. The rest of Epsilon are spawning up in cave and have to work at a height disadvantage, but at least they have good spawns.
Scarab coming out from Saints, trying to delay the push coming in from Epsilon. Epsilon had a fantastic start to this hard point, of course, setting up early. LG breaks it, and can they make a mistake and let Epsilon reign here a little bit longer? Hockey making some noise toward the back, of course, trying to remain in that second part of the pinch. And Octane watching through that side actually gets picked off. Here comes the push from Epsilon. Josh here to try to find at least 2, but can't make that happen. Hockey's here toward the back, but constant 2v1 engagements. This is not looking good for Epsilon as he'll fall. Vortex is home, but not for too much longer. LG will hold on to the hard point at least for a few more seconds. The melee comes in as Slack starts to make some highlight plays happen on a 4 spree. Gets an assist there from his teammate, but 102 to 33. The rotation from Epsilon has got to be on point because LG have come out hot in this Scorch.
So that hesitation right there from Hockey, after he got his initial kill, he realized he was the last player alive on his team. He backed up to wait for the hit from the front and then re-engage. He waited way too long, and his teammates ended up fighting outnumbered, and then he just came in to fight alone anyway. So that ended up working really well into Luminosity's favor, who, as you can see, as we're coming to a close of the first rotation of hills on this hard point, find themselves at a pretty massive lead.
And this is one that Epsilon have got to hold on to right now, Fox. I mean, they're had a little bit of issues when it comes down to Scorch, and we'll see if they can potentially try and get some time when it comes down to Drill. Streaks coming in. We'll see how that obviously plays a factor. Looks like some early close gun engagement actually going down here for Josh. Able to find 2, give me 3, as it looks like LG start to fall quite a bit. But this is a much needed time if you are Epsilon right now, because when it comes down to LG, once this team starts to get the neck on the throat, they have no issue with pressing down even more.
Oh, absolutely not. And all of them flooding in from cave side. Epsilon is able to read it, but still not win the engagement. This is where we talk about the strength and the gun skill from the side of the Luminosity players. They brute force their way, get some scrap time there, but they still have to get set up for middle map as the rotation starts all over again.
Indeed it does. We'll see what potentially Epsilon can do to try to bring this one back, nearly down by double the points, but it looks like they're now going to be getting some early control when it comes down to Bridge. With both these teams in the back of their minds thinking about that rotation over toward Turbine. We saw LZ do a fantastic job at locking that one down and breaking through as a squad. When it came down to that hill in the last set of rotations, we'll see what they can potentially try and produce now. LG currently with hill control and Vortex trying to make some sort of noise through that middle map. Thankfully getting some teammate support. Interesting site there choice from Josh, but regardless, we'll have a few kills going down with it, but right now...
Yeah, I noticed he swapped that earlier on.
But currently it is going to be LG with a little bit of a lead, and the rotation for the set of Epsilon has got to be on point soon.
Yeah, so again, we're seeing ourselves in a similar situation as last time where Luminosity has the middle hill. They get the scrap time, and they have to come in through this warehouse into Turbine. But they're still outnumbered in a sense, and that's why you see player 4, Slack, sitting in the corner and waiting patiently as his teammates spawn up on the opposite side of the map's warehouse. This is going to be a very slow break. You expect those players coming in from hallway to set up for the pinch and spawn those players out, but Saints is also at Drill. So it's just going to be a really tough push for them here, but it should work out since they got those 2 kills.
Should work out. We'll see potentially if LG can try to lock this one down. Hockey tries to find at least a few nice consistent play there from the side of LG. Of course, winning for teammates to try and stack up as they are looking good right now inside of Turbine. Out of sight and out of mind is Epsilon, but here comes the push toward the wall run. Looks like some kills going down from Dave and Josh. Vortex finding one from the back. That's going to be 3 down for the time, so it looks like scrap points are now going to be awarded toward the side of Epsilon.
I wouldn't even call that scrap points. They got a lot of the middle chunk of the hill and the scrap points as well. But what we saw right there was there wasn't a clean break from Luminosity in the first place, so Epsilon just knew they could answer right back as soon as they respawned.
So rotation coming in here over toward Hangar. 2 drop early for the side of LG. If Epsilon can try to get some kind of niche inside, maybe even use some of their payloads, this could be another break for them. Nice shot. They're coming in for Vortex. Rocks the F-tail jump to try and get inside. Can they find the second kill? But no, it's not going to be home, and LG will hold down the hill as they're getting closer and closer to that 200-point mark.
I like the idea from Vortex right there to just push straight through with the FTL jump and catch the player that was supposed to be trading him off guard, but that player responded to it slower than he expected, so the advantage was kind of gone at that point, the advantage of surprise. So we're seeing a an Epsilon push into this base, but Luminosity looks to be holding strong.
And Octane ends up dropping from the side as LG will hold on to, looks like, quite a bit of seconds right now, and kind of bringing up Octane as well as the push starts to come through. I like to see him switching over to that K-bar when it comes in a close quarter engagements. A lot of the ARs don't really have or really feel comfortable when it comes to the MV4 when it comes down to this map, and we've talked about it, and I think you even mentioned it in the last map as well. I mean, ever since Black Ops 3 as well, I mean, this guy can just use about any AR in the game and absolutely do work with it, and it's nice to... It's definitely a major factor for the side of LG to have such a consistent AR like him on their team.
Right, so guys, now we're coming into drill hardpoint. When we last got onto this hill, Luminosity was at a lead of about 60 to 70 seconds. Now they find themselves hovering around 80. It doesn't look like Epsilon has been able to answer back too much since then, and coming down to these closing moments, it looks like we're going into a Game 5 in this series unless Epsilon can bounce back in a huge way.
We've seen them do it in the past in different game modes, but can they do it here in Hardpoint? Nades coming through, gunfights as well. Hockey trying to respond toward the back, but not having a lot of team support toward the front is going to end his life quickly. Vortex is here toward Med Bay. He will get shut down as well. And it looks like only a few more seconds needed for the side of LG for them to close out this one and send it to a map number 5. Reactive armor engaged for Saints, and still find a few. Another player going to get engaged, and Slash is there for the cleanup. This is looking to be all the side of LG as their few remaining kills will start to come in. And Fox, looks like we're going to see a map number 5 in this.
Yeah, and right here, it was just LG kind of taking over. It really felt like some of the Epsilon players weren't contributing as much as you would expect from them. Dave was trying to do all he can, but he just did not have that great supporting cast around him to have these MVP-like performances that he's had in the past. I mean, if you look at it, Hockey, up until just a few seconds ago, was 12 and 20. He finally just went on a pretty, I think, a 3 streak, and he only had like 17 seconds, but he was asleep for a lot of this map. Like, what was Hockey contributing for the team?
And that's going to do it there. Your final score, 250 to 147. LG respond. Fox, Epsilon was up 2-0. Are we seeing a reverse sweep in our midst?
It's just a dangerous moment because we're getting into Search and Destroy, which is typically Luminosity's weakness. This is going to be a sentiment that is harped on over and over and over again whenever this team finds himself in a situation until they can consistently provide what a winning team needs to provide in that game mode.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to call, I think, at this point. Like I said, we've seen LG start to kind of rebound a little bit back. Of course, that Scorch definitely looking like typical LG there. I mean, we saw a number of different typical plays coming up from them as far as rotations, as far as kind of taking over hills as well. They definitely look to be back on form. When it comes down to Game 5s, though, like we said, their history has not been great. However, they have countered and said, well, we've worked on our Search and Destroy gameplay. We have worked on our Search and Destroy gameplay quite a bit, and we've definitely improved. So, I don't know, it's still a question mark to me. Who you got?
For this one, I think that at this point in time, I do kind of want to give it to Epsilon. I feel that Josh's ability to sort of command his team and tell them where they're going is going to work out very well for them. I think that it's going to be enough for them as well to read some of the obvious plays that Luminosity likes to set up. I mean, we even saw Epsilon working against so many disadvantages very well in the first Search and Destroy. So I gotta give it to them. I think they're going to close it out in Game 5.
You got Epsilon?
Absolutely. Who are you taking?
Oh, man. I'm going to go with LG. I'm going to go with NA. I'm going to go with NA. I'm going to go with LG.
North
but
America.
Guys, we'll decide. We'll figure it out. Of course, once we head to a quick commercial break, when we return, we've got map 5. We've got LG. We've got Epsilon. We'll be back. Welcome back, everyone, to the CWL Anaheim Open presented by the PS4. Myself, Lando, as well as Fox, guiding you guys through our first series from day number 1 here at the Bravo station. We've got LG, we've got Epsilon going to a map number 5. Fox looked to be a pretty one-sided series out the start. Epsilon going up 2-0, but LG responding in both the uplink and the hardpoint have forced this one down to a map 5. You got Epsilon, I got LG. Seems to be like it could be a very close series, but I'm not gonna lie. Like during the commercial break, I was like, well, maybe Epsilon was a good choice. Like maybe I didn't choose the right one. Like it's just so hard to predict right now. I mean, Anaheim, it's a fresh event. It's a new time for a lot of these teams.
I feel that it's so difficult because these two teams match up so evenly against one another. Like they're both phenomenal at respawn, right? I think that Epsilon has definitely shown just how strong, especially Davey, can be for them.
My gosh.
Oh, it's ridiculous, right? But getting into this Game 5, this is where a lot of European fans get worried, right? They see a lot of these European teams choke in these Game 5s. They get an early lead and then can't seem to close out the series once it gets to Game 5. Still, though, they're going against Luminosity, where they do have a bit of an advantage to work with, and the fact that LG isn't so consistent and so great in Search and Destroy.
Absolutely. And of course, our map for map number 5 is going to be on Throwback. Now, tell me a little bit about Throwback. I think we can expect maybe some snipers to potentially be brought out as well. This is a map where obviously we're going to see a major site being chose over toward that bike path one, but this is a map where we can definitely see some offside hits. And that map number 2 on Retaliation, we saw both these teams have no issue with making offside hits as well. So, in your opinion, when it comes down to this map, what should we be expecting? What would definitely give a team kind of like that momentum to kind of make some rounds happen?
I think that it's all going to come down to those plants. It's so easy to plant on Throwback, especially when you get over to bike path.
Right.
The one thing that's going to be different for me is that what LG is so used to doing with Classic is having him go straight down bike path, plant instantly, and then just snake behind the bomb site. But with that being patched recently in the game and removed, he's not going to have that luxury. He's going to need a bit more team support to hold down the site. But it is going to be a big thing to just get that early plant on Throwback and not allow for any hard flanks around the blue side of the map.
Absolutely. And of course, we have talked about some very strong performances, some performers throughout this series. Like you said, Hockey definitely, or not Hockey, but Dave from the side of Epsilon and Octane from the side of LG.
Classic as well.
For sure. But definitely some players to be looking at. We saw in that first Search and Destroy, that went down to a round 11, in which case Epsilon was able to win that. And in that match, Octane ended up dropping 12-6. So definitely be looking out for him to have a strong performance from the side of LG.
All right, so opening moments of this Search and Destroy. Let's see what these guys have been working with. It's all going to come down to a moment like this where they want to win that Game 5 and get that first victory of the tournament. But it looks like Luminosity is going to completely give up the A site in favor of mid-map control and work their way through a flank here. This could actually work well for them here, but the first kill goes in favor of Epsilon as Hockey finds a snipe. Vortex comes through and shuts down that flank instantly. Slack moving up to the bomb site is hoping to find the trade, but in a 1 versus 2 situation, he really does not have a whole lot to work with.
He really doesn't. Only a few seconds left to work with, and some shots being exchanged from the long ranges. Tosses out the nade, but it might be a little too late. Spots out Josh. Debating on how the teammates' movement has been considered. He might not know that there's actually 2 players here, but now he does, and he's only got a few seconds left to work with. Slacked, my friend, this is not going to be easy for you. You've tagged him up, but you can't kill them, Slacked. How many bullets did he fire into Josh's body?
That was a really entertaining 1v2 to watch right there.
It was so hard to commentate, I'm not going to lie. Like, okay, he's about to kill him. He's so close. Come on, Slack. Yeah, it just didn't happen there for Slack. Either way, Josh finishes off the final kill there with some nice extra shots there from Vortex. But that's going to be an early round for Epsilon, much like we saw in that first Search and Destroy.
You ever see the cartoons where like an animal has a carrot taped to their back, like dangling in front of their head, and they're constantly running at it? That's exactly what that looked like right there. Epsilon just kept baiting him over and over and over again, running that clock dry and closing out the round. So that's why we see them with a 1-0 lead. But now the side switch. We see Luminosity on the offense, and this time they once again focus middle map.
Let's see what they can try and produce. Of course, double E-round there from Classic and Saints. At range, though, they're not the best gun to have at that point. Double MV4s from Hockey and Josh will make them pay, and now it's going to be a 2 versus 4 for the side of Luminosity. Octane doing a great job at using some nice leverage there, but can't pick up the kill. And did he find that kill?
He found the kill.
Okay, I was going to say, I saw like a little bit of red there at the end, but regardless, nice round there from the side of Epsilon. Is the MV4s versus an E-Rads at range. I mean, you're going to give the MV4 players those every time. And in some cases, it looked like Epsilon was ready for that push. Maybe they've done some knowledge. Maybe they've done some work. Homework, rather, is the right word to be using. Some homework on the LG side.
It possibly could have. Right there, it looked more like they were just kind of comfortable with responding to that middle map push they had. There wasn't a whole lot of pressure on bike path. We also saw Classic going for an incredibly long-ranged E-Rad kill. And yes, we know the E-Rad is incredibly low recoil, and a lot of these pro players have mastered it at that range, but that's still a really tough shot to hit.
Definitely was. Well, we'll see if Vortex can try to get this bomb down again. This time he's got some pressure just to his right, and it's not going to be an easy bomb to get down, to say the least. But Josh ends up finding the first blood, and there's another one actually coming in. Octane ends up dropping 2 versus 3 now in favor of the side of Epsilon. Now making it a 1 versus 3. Slacked all by himself, but he's able to shut down Vortex. This is not going to be an easy round to clutch, but Slacked has been one of the major performers in Search and Destroy for this LG lineup so far throughout Infinite Warfare. That bomb does get planted from Dave. This could be a big kill, but Hockey just waiting it out.
Same
like Dave
situation.
is going to join him alongside.
Similar situation as to last time, as we see Epsilon gets the bomb plant down and try to play around this bus. And of course, Slacked working at that 1 versus 2 disadvantage when they're both in position like that. It's just going to, it's a matter of time before they just close out the round with how much cover they have.
It's almost like LG is waiting for Epsilon to make a play, and that shouldn't be the case, I feel like. It's almost like they're waiting for them to make a mistake, and Epsilon doesn't make a mistake. They catch out LG pretty quick. I think they end up finding Octane through while he was jumping up in the air. It's just like, it's almost like LG is waiting for Epsilon to make a mistake, and while LG's waiting, Epsilon's ready and waiting to kind of shut them down. So
right.
With that 3 early rounds coming from the side of Epsilon, of course, you only need 6 to win, so they're already halfway there. And LG is yet to get on the board as of yet. Vortex nearly at that FTL jump, could definitely use that to win a gunfight. So he's going to be on the flank, but looks like Slacked is there to cut him down. Nice early first blood there from LG.
This is classic LG. They get the bomb down from the hands of Classic, and they try and set up around it. But you can see the difference here is that Classic is not going to sit on the site. I think it's mostly because he has a feeling that there are many Epsilon players on his side of the map, but typically he'd sit there and just watch Bike Path, let his team cover him. But they're trying to answer to this Epsilon pressure from middle map as Josh finds a kill. Octane takes down Hockey. Dave is able to find Octane.
Looks like Dave tags up another one. Potential 1 versus 3 on our hands, but not a whole lot of time to work with. Tosses the nade down, but can he get the kill? No. Slacked is going to be there. A very close round, but a round none the least. LG finally getting on the board. It comes down to a 1 versus 1, and thankfully Slack was ready. So use the nice aerial gunfights to win that.
So that's the first time we see LG just prioritize getting that plant down instantly on their offensive run. And you can see right there, it's just their first offensive round win. It's their first round win in this Search and Destroy. And that's why I said I feel like that's where their strengths lie on Throwback, is to get that bomb down. And of course, the first blood is of course going to work in their favor as well.
See what Epsilon can do. They did a great job in their last offensive take, and it looks like Vortex is going to have an easier time to get this bomb down here early. Of course, Fox, you mentioned that earlier. You're going to see quite a few A hits and very, very fast hits as well. That's exactly what Epsilon intends to do here in this round number 5. No kills going down yet, but of course, getting ready to be engaged here shortly. Slack holding that bomb head glitch as Hockey finds the first blood on Classic. 28 seconds left. Looks like Saints finding a few as well. MV4 in hand for Slack, but he's one shot, and he'll end up dropping 2 versus 2 now. Vortex does have the FTL jump if he vends to use it here. Vends to use it, but can he get the kill on Saints? No, not going to happen. And now Dave is left in a position to clutch, but only has to hold the line for a few more seconds. Finds the kill. Octane needs to try and find him, but it looks like he's not going to be able to be there in time. And Dave, this is going to be a round for him as he'll close that one out, the kill, just for good measure. As that's now going to be Epsilon. They're going to be up 4 rounds to 1.
And that's big. We're seeing a lot of Epsilon sort of outplaying LG in the Search and Destroy. Whatever strategy they're trying to employ, if it's not all 4 of them hitting like a decent choke, it's not working out for them right now.
At this point, I'm honestly kind of just disappointed in the side of LG. I mean, they just it's just not the same LG that we're used to. We've seen sparks at times, but it's just like the communication, the teamwork, the chemistry just isn't there right now. And I'm not sure what exactly the cause of that could be. A lot of different storylines could potentially be the case of that, but regardless, LG, you're going to have to make a miraculous comeback if you want to make this one happen, as they're going to try the same strategy through this middle map, instead going to go inside of top food right now.
Yeah, I kind of want to give credit to Epsilon right now. They seem to be playing, reading and reacting to Luminosity throughout this entire map so far. They just kind of see everything coming, and then when it finally does, they answer to it effectively, and as you can see, it's amounted up to 4 rounds. Versus Luminosity is just 1. There are 2 players, though, trapped here by 4 different Luminosity players. Dave still comes out of it with a kill, being hunted down. Epsilon is answering back and finding themselves in an even greater advantage. Saints is left in the 1 versus 3, bomb in hand, and he has to reposition because he's not going to gun all 3 of these players himself.
Good luck, my man, because you're going to need it. He will drop, and Josh is there. 5 rounds to 1. Epsilon have came to play in this game number 5. They were up 2-0, and just when you start to think that LG can potentially make the reverse sweep, Epsilon is here, at least for right now, only needing 1 more round to make a huge upset versus what seems to be a top North American team, or really a top team in the entire game right now in the side of Luminosity. None of them have payloads to work with. Slack the closest one, but it's only an FTL jump. And Dave continuing to be a absolute slayer in this series. Currently sitting at 7-3 and is going to rock the active camo here to start off this round. Finds a pick. There's 2 down early 4 versus 2. This is not looking good for LG. This should be the round that they close it out.
Yeah, LG is not exactly in 2 versus 4 clutch potential right now. They're not looking so hot. 1 round separates Epsilon from this victory in Search and Destroy, as well as the victory in the series. They're in a 4 versus 2 situation, and they're back to their standard setup. Luminosity has failed to break the setup just about every single time in the Search and Destroy, and now they have to do it with 2 less players.
Finds at least 1. Nice kill coming in from Slack. That one's going to be on Josh. MV4 at range. This is where Octane likes to reign. Unfortunately, doesn't have a whole lot of time left to work with. Shot still coming in. 2v4, still looking good. 2 versus 2. FTL jump gets rocked, and Dave drops as well. An incredible 2 versus 4 play. And that's going to be LG. Insult to injury. Slack uses the FTL jump to escape. And just when we think that this is Epsilon's round to win, LG says, we've at least got 1 more left in us.
How did... They fail it every time when the odds are like at least even or just a little bit in their favor.
Look at this. Slack, FTL jump, hits him in the face.
They choose now to make the big S&D plays.
That's an elbow in 3D. My goodness.
All right, here it goes. Luminosity is not out of it yet. A great clutch round from them after going down into a 2 versus 4 situation. That's got to be big for team morale, but they have to do something similar 4 more times, as I don't think Epsilon's slowing down in a bit.
Not at all hockey. MV4 shots at range. Classic the bomb in his hands. Spots 1 out of position. That's going to be on Josh. 3 versus 3. Now it looks like Dave actually going to find a big kill. He'll end up dropping, but now it's going to be left up to a 1 versus 2. Octane, you were part of a clutch in the last round. Can you make it happen again, my friend? Nade out. Needs to try and stay up. Thankfully, that trophy system is there. Nice shots coming in. This is a 1 versus 1. Vortex, you need to close this one out, my friend. Octane toward that back fence. Needs to play this correctly. Of course, has the MV4 in hand.
Oh, so you lost him. Vortex jukes him out, trying to find a different angle to take on this 1 versus 1. You would think that it wouldn't come down to this because we saw Dave open with a double, but trouble followed. And now Luminosity finds himself in just a 1v1, which Octane is more than capable of winning. And Vortex has the stage set in front of him to stop it.
Vortex spots him, but can he clean up the kills? The question is
Excellent
yes,
shots.
He is going to do it. Vortex will find Octane at the end. LG, despite making some late game heroics, it's not going to be enough. And Epsilon will close out this series versus the side of LG in what has definitely been an upsetting match. Of course, you see the shot of Epsilon there. Feeling pretty hype after their start to Anaheim. And the question is now, I mean, what do we expect from LG at this point? Because that was not at all a prediction that I would have had in my mind, was that Epsilon was going to close this out.
Well, I think that if we look at their Pro League results, that Epsilon has definitely painted a picture that they can go toe-to-toe with LG, with Luminosity Gaming. So I don't think that this is all too surprising, at least from my perspective. Epsilon has shown just how strong they can be in respawns. They've been able to take down the likes of Splice in a double 3-0, 3-0 fashion, right? And that's a very strong European talent. So I got to say, that was a really impressive run by them. It comes down to a game 5 there where Epsilon is just a stronger team in Search and Destroy.
Absolutely. Let's go and take a look at our maps really quick just to set the stage. Of course, if you did miss any of this series, of course, we started off on Breakout Hardpoint, where we saw Epsilon actually 100-point club the side of LG. Definitely an interesting start to this series. We ended up seeing a 6-5 Retaliation Search and Destroy victory for Epsilon as well, where they went up 2-0. And then back-to-back respawn victory.